Candidates for the various positions in all the political parties have been sharing their thoughts on how to fix the many challenges bedeviling the country. These thoughts surround how to tackle insecurity, power supply, unemployment, the economy, education, and strike was incessant strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, issues in the health sector, medical tourism, and of course infrastructure. We will now be getting the perspective of the national youth leader of the Labour Party, ERAGBE ANSLEM, who is also the party's senatorial candidate in the Edo North in the 2023 elections. Good to have you join us.
Pleasure, sir. Morning, ma'am.
So first, let's say congratulations on your emergence as the candidate of your party.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's begin. Today, I don't know if you listened to the newspaper review that we had this morning. You would have seen so many problems. Of course, we see that on a daily basis facing the country. But let's begin with the issue of insecurity. For many of you who want to take position in the country, are you not worried whether you would be able to even get that position with the current security issues we're having in the country? And how do you think we can be dealing with that?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, Comrade ERAGBE ANSLEM, the National Youth Leader of Labour Party and the Edo North senatorial candidate for the party in the 2023 general elections in Nigeria. The matter of insecurity, this is where Labour comes in, effective mobilization of the people. What has happened in Nigeria is a situation where there are too many idle hands. Now, over time, 62 years of independence, we have failed as a people, as government, to engage the people productively. So it is this lack of engagement that has resulted into the insecurity we find in our country today, because the kidnapping, the scams, and all manner of social vices going on as a result of people not being effectively engaged, because the idle hand, they say, is the devil's workshop. But then going forward, what do we need to do? We need to put our house in order. We need to engage the people. There are productive ways of doing this. Agricultural mechanization. Nigeria has a land of over 923,000 square kilometers that is unutilized. There are bodies of solid mineral deposits across the length and breadth of this country. They are not harnessed. They are not exploited. Now, if we must, the insecurity, for instance, the manpower need of, there's a shortfall in the manpower need, even of the security architecture. Again, this is a country of over 200 million people. So, for us, we believe in community policing. There has to be community policing. There has to be effective intelligence gathering at all levels. You see, it is one thing for us to keep lamenting of this security situation rather than doing what we need to do. So by and large, what the Labour need to do, our presidential candidate has made it very clear and obvious. We'll begin MSA engagement, small, medium-scale enterprises. So by the time we begin to proliferate all of these engagements amongst Nigerians, of course, we will have dealt with that issue of the idle hands. That's the devil's workshop. So, all
right, you are looking forward to be in the Senate in 2023.
Yes.
And of course, you know that beyond its lawmaking functions, the Parliament has a constitutional role of also oversighting the executive arm of government. Still talking about insecurity, do you think Parliament has effectively mounted pressure on the executive arm of government to deal with this problem?
Thank you. In constitutional democracy, there are responsibilities of the different arms of government. The legislative arm is to make the enabling laws, while the executive arm, as it were, is to execute. Now, of course, if you look at the laws, I will say we have good laws. So ideally, the parliamentarians have done their own bit, because each time the Executive Council make requests, maybe for budgetary adjustment or for allocations to make procurement for armaments, ideally, or certain infrastructures needed for security coverage, the Parliament has always obliged them. But I think what has been the issue has been the extent of implementation. But again, with the benefit of hindsight, should we come, by the grace of God, to the Parliament, maybe there may be some modification to how we ensure that the laws we make are executed. So if it means enshrining certain provisions in our act or laws to the extent of implementing certain issues and enforcing them by way of law, I think we'll do that. So this is what I feel is the issue. The laws are okay, implementation is little or nowhere, but the parliament will not rest on its oars to ensure that the executive arm implement laws.
Now, Nigerians have accused or rather alleged, so to speak, that the current National Assembly is, so to speak, rubber-stamped, believing in whatever comes from the executive, it gives approval, like you have said. But now getting the executives to implement, you know, in terms of checks and balances in governance has been a problem. So you remember when even some PDP lawmakers talked about impeaching the president because they believe that he has not done enough in dealing with insecurity. We also saw how all of that had played out, you know, in recent times. So what differently, or what differently would your set do when they get into the lawmaking body to see that, you know, you don't just make resolutions and at the end of the day they are not carried out, and then we go back to quagmire?
Yeah, certainly. The legislative oversight as one of the duties of the legislatures, oversighting the activities of the executive. For instance, should we make laws, say on security, because of the incessant insecurity situation in Nigeria, there should be time frame for execution of these laws made by us. Now, we need to go out there to seek the extent to which our laws are being implemented by the executive. Now, there has to be a routine, probably a quarterly basis routine to ensure effective compliance. Now, because effectiveness in leadership is what matters. So what we will do is what I'm saying now. For instance, I'm a labor man, as it were, ordinarily, other than being a party man. I'm a labor man. So again, like we say, the labor movement, of course, over time have agitated severally on the improvement of the state of the nation, almost to no avail. But what we need to do is to put our feet on the ground. Again, like I said, I'll be playing, as it were, a dual role. One, as a politician in Labour Party, then two, as a labor man, because even as it stands today, that's what I represent. I represent the labor movement in the Labour Party, other than being the national leader of the Labour Party. So I'm in a strategic position in terms of moving these odds out of the way and moving forward. So these are some of the things people like us will do in the parliament. So where we feel the executive is not doing the needful, we bring in the alternative force that brought in the government to play to ensure that the laws are implemented. So this will be fundamental and key in what we're expecting in the days ahead.
All right, we'll be talking more about, you know, what you would do in the National Assembly, particularly the Senate, if you get elected in next year's senatorial elections. But let's look at your journey to the Senate, if that eventually happens. You're contesting on the platform of the Labour Party, which currently is enjoying, you know, massive support and following particularly of young Nigerians. But some people, you know, are still of the opinion that the Labour Party is about, you know, noise making on social media without structure. Does Labour Party, you know, has a formidable political structure in Edo State where you intend to contest these elections?
Thank you. First and foremost, let me talk about the structure. Now, I'm bold to say, as of today, in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the most effective structure that exists anywhere today is the Labour Party structure. I say this with all sense of modesty, to the extent that the entire labor movement force, the Nigeria Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress, the trade unions, the political commission of the labor movement, or, mind you, the Nigeria Labour Congress registered the Labour Party in 2003. Then as Party for Social Democracy. And in 2004, the name was changed in a convention to Labour Party. But of course, we understand the extent as at the point the Labour movement refused to organize itself under its own political party. So we suffered all of this in the last 20 years until some of us came on board most recently to say, no, we have missed it. Let's come back home. Whatever the grievances were, we have done away with those grievances. Now, there is a harmonization process that took place. Now, under that arrangement, we had 7 other political parties with the labor movement, the NLC, the TUC, that formed the third force political movement as an alternative political platform or party to the existing ones, and Labour Party was adopted as the third force political party. Now, arising from this, you agree with me that the workers of this country, be they in the public sector, in the private sector, are galvanized by the labor movement, the NLC, the TUC, and their trade unions. Now, by affiliation, all of these persons, all of these Nigerians are automatic members of the Labour Party. So what we are doing right now, under my office as the National Youth Leader of Labour Party, we have set up a national mobilization platform called the Labour Party National Mobilization.org.ng. It's an online platform. Now, it has 6 portals. Basically, the essence of these 6 portals are, 1, to ensure we have effective database for administration. Now, ahead of these general elections, we are mobilizing a minimum of 45 million Nigerians to a maximum of 75 million to effect the mandate delivery of our presidential candidate, His Excellency Peter Obi and Senator Yusuf Dati. Now, these 6 portals, quickly. Portal 1 has to do with registrations of Nigeria with PVC. Now, we have tied that portal with the INEC portal. As an individual, you come on, you log in your details, you register successfully. It gives you a feedback of a membership card with 6 IDs. The first ID is called the national ID. It tells us how many Nigerians there will be from now to the day of election and beyond. And it gives the Labour Party an authentic database for administration going forward. The second ID is called a state ID. It tells us how many Nigerians, the eligible voter, that have keyed in to be with Labour Party for this election. Again, the third ID is called a local government ID. It similarly tells us how many Nigerians, both at home and in the diaspora. Mind you, there are diaspora Nigerians with PVC, and a lot of them are willing to come back home to vote in the Labour Party. Now, the fourth one is called a ward ID. Again, it tells us how many people are with Labour Party in every of the 8,000 plus wards in Nigeria. The fifth one is called a polling unit ID. It tells us specifically, in specific terms, how many people are with us in every polling unit across the 176,864 polling units in Nigeria. The last one is called your VIN ID. Of course, that is the ID given to you by the INEC that makes you eligible as a voter. That is one. Quickly, so there are 2 of this portal. This portal, one is called the Nigerians with PVC. The second is for Nigerians in the diaspora, with or without the PVC. The third portal is for the registration of support groups. What we have done, realizing to expand the structure of the Labour Party, is to have immediately brought in the support groups, the CSO, the NGOs, the unions, as unit cells of the Labour Party across the polling unit area. We call this effective mobilization, not just at the ward level now, but at the polling unit level. At that level, we have put in place a 28-man polling unit mobilization force. 28 over 176,000 brings us to 5 million. So the Labour Party is putting in place a 5 million man polling unit mobilization force in Nigeria. This becomes the biggest force anywhere in the Federal Republic of Nigeria in terms of mobilization. There is a mobilization factor of a maximum of 15 we have designed in this arrangement. A minimum of 9 gives us 45. A maximum of 15 gives us 75 million. So within those 2 extremes, Labour Party is sure, working with the Labour movement, fellow Nigerians, that the desire to rescue Nigeria becomes very imminent. Quickly, we have a portal for the registration of the polling unit agents. Now, we have a portal for the collation and display of results. Now, because for the elections to be free, fair, and credible, we must have an alternative arrangement to ensure that whatsoever results are going to be announced ultimately by the INEC are in sync with the reality. Because we know, even though we have acknowledged the extent to which the INEC has made improvement in terms of electronic computation of results, the biomedial machines and the rest of them, but we have a reservation I'm an engineer, yes, and this is the reservation. Ideally, you could have what you call a credible accreditation. Let's assume 40 million Nigerians were accredited to vote on the day of election. But how do we ascertain the extent to which these votes are distributed? So there could be manipulation at the particular level, IT-wise. So for us to check this expected manipulation, that's why we have put up this design. Now, at the polling unit level, there are codes we shall give to our polling unit returning officer. Once the votes are counted at the polling unit, in short, from accreditation, a code will be given to enter those details. Now, immediately the votes are counted and declared.
All right. So let's agree with you that Labour Party is making frantic efforts to ensure that the structure that everybody thinks it doesn't have, it's already doing that. Even though all is still on social media, how that translates to the polling units at the end of the day for voting still remains to be seen. But let's look at the education sector now. Which is one of the problems the country is facing as we speak. ASU is still on strike. And this has gone on for months. And then the federal government is also issuing threats, no work, no pay. And we haven't seen much of labor movements in addressing this. Even the last solidarity rally with ASU ended, and still nothing has happened. So, but let's get you to react to what another candidate of another party, AAC candidate, said on our sister program yesterday on education and how it can be, resolved, and how the education sector can be fixed. Can you tell us what you think?
Maybe we should take that. Maybe we should take that soundbite.
We need to take that soundbite, right? Okay, so you now react to that.
Everybody must have something for him that takes him away from crime. If people go to bed hungry every night, they will do something to get what they don't deserve because they are desperate. If you don't employ half of your youths, you are definitely going to get crime in return for your investment. There's nobody that can escape that. And if you don't, protect old people after they work for, 45 years and they retire, you don't pay their retirement, they will go back to crime, or they will be part of your problem. So that social security protection is then the final security that the country will need so that people can go to sleep.
All right. So your reaction.
I didn't quite hear.
You didn't get to hear what he said. Okay, he's saying that if you leave many youths unemployed, then you are fueling crime in the system, and as well leaving students at home for several months coming will also bring a decline in the education sector.
Okay, basically, I agree with what he said, basically, because you see, this strike, what it causes is it causes brain drain, basically. Now, it depletes the extent to which the capacity of these persons, both intellectually, mentally, and otherwise, is built. So there's decline. But what we need to do as a people, now, let me say this. I've had cause to say this severally. I am the National Organizing Secretary of the Academic Staff Union of Research Institutions in Nigeria, ASURI. Now, ASURI is the sister of ASU. While ASU is in the university, ASURI is in the research institute sector. There are over 200 research institutions in Nigeria, and each research institution in Nigeria has a specific mandate geared towards national development. But all of those have not happened up to now. In the last 12 years, as the National Organizing Secretary of ASURI, we set out looking at the issues in Nigeria to find solution in the last 12 years. I will say this authoritatively. Now, we were able to attract 150 billion euro funding for the research sector in this country. And the federal government of Nigeria have the evidence of this. We even brought in some initial funding that has stopped today up to as I'm talking with you now in the last 1 year. Now, the issues of the funding required by ASU to fix the education system have become just so little compared to the solution we have provided. So what I'm saying on the TV today, authoritatively, the federal government of Nigeria should sit with us. We have provided solution even for this economy. So what is the problem? What is the problem?
So what are the solutions you have so far preferred, particularly with resolving the issues in our public university education, which has led to this
part of what has
strikes?
created or caused the problem from the 2009 negotiations over the issues of infrastructural development, over the issues of training and the rest of them within the university sector. The monies they have asked for is available now to be invested in that sector of the economy.
Available where?
It's available with us.
Us, as in the Labour Party?
Yeah. ERAGBE ANSLEM led a team of researchers that secured funding to the tune of 150 billion euro over a 20-25 years funding tenure at a marginal interest rate of 3.5% after a 5 years moratorium.
Why are you not reaching out to government?
No, the government should reach out because they have all of these details. They have evidence of the initial funds that came in. These funds have not been released. These funds are meant for the development of the research sector in Nigeria to begin to rejig this economy.
So how does the government access those funds you're talking about?
Oh, of course they know how to access them. I am here. I led the team that achieved this. I am here. So I'm saying on the national TV, the federal government is aware, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, all of the authorities in Nigeria that should know this know.
So for how long has this been on the table? Because
this has been on the table effectively since 26th of May last year.
So if the government knows...
40.2 million euro came and they are stuck in Zenith Bank as we are talking.
So if government knows...
that has debarred us from making progress up to date. So why are we talking about ASU strike for reasons of few billions or whatever, or a trillion, whatever the volume is?
So is there a reason why government is not accessing those funds for now? What have you been able to find out?
We have been investigated by the EFCC and the relevant authorities. Yes, severally. I've had to be locked up for 4 days at the IGP monitoring unit, Inspector General Police monitoring unit, in August last year. Again, I had to be locked up for 2 days at the EFCC.
Why?
Yes, why? Because they say we brought in funds. Why? We presented all the evidences. And I'm still waiting as I'm talking now to find the evidence against us. Why we cannot have access to this fund to commence this development.
So that means the fund is not accessible at the moment. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yes. We have not accessed it, but the funds are in the care of Zenith Bank, probably wherever, maybe CBN, I don't know. But they are listening to me. If they say otherwise, then let them come to the fore. So the question we are asking is, the lamentation has long been solved. So the issues of funding for the research sector, the issues of funding for ASU, the issue for the economic redirection of this nation has been dealt with. We provided solution to the extent of giving government an offer for the 5 billion euro expectedly they were looking at shortfall for the 2022 budget. That funds, I wrote to the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, severally. Evidences are there. What is the issue?
So what response did you get?
Well, maybe in fairness to them this time around, I think progress has been made now, other than release. A lot of progress has been made. I should say this now, until such a time when the evidence of release will be obvious. Then you can come.
On what platform did you source these funds that you are talking about, and did you get the endorsement, the backing of government before sourcing these funds?
Now, even in government, the federal government of Nigeria goes out of its way to do public-private partnership. That is one. Two, individuals, corporations, both private, limited liability companies, depending on your mandate and what you are doing. You have a right to invest in your country. So we got the authorization of the Research Sector Union on behalf of the entire research sector.
Are you in a position to source funds on behalf of government?
Certainly. Like I said, these are contractual agreements. So contractual agreement. The trade unions, of course you are aware, are arms of the government, the research sector in Nigeria. Now, the leadership saw a need to implement the research mandate, and the federal government couldn't fund. So the union took this initiative and designed programs in line with the mandate of this research sector and reached out to the global community in clear terms. Project design, contract awarded, contract signed, between the local front and the international front under this funding partnership and arrangement. Over time, business plan assessed, developed, approved, domiciled, funds issued as commencement. So these are issues. These are very explicit.
This funding may have come with, certain conditions which may not have gone down well with the government. What issues, specific issues, are the government raising, with these funds?
You see, the question is, sometimes we understand there are procedures which were met. First and foremost, you must have a registered entity, a corporate entity with the CAC. 2, you must have SCOM. This is the Special Control Unit Against Money Laundering certificate. Now, that certificate does many things. 1, it gives you authorization to seek funding and inflow funds. Now, before you are issued that certificate, you go through a routine training in the EFCC. Now, in the course of before the approval, you state if you have projects, if you are sourcing foreign funding, to what extent are these funds? To what limit can these funds be inflow? So then you must have a bank account, a domiciliary bank account in the denomination of the currencies. And you must present documentation, contractual documentation, approvals of fund, all of this were provided. So what we are saying is to say, of course, at the onset, we realize that the law says, yes, the bank can do A, B, C, D for the purposes of verification to ensure the issue of money laundering, to ensure against terrorism financing, because, of course, the origin of this fund, the funders must be established. And to this extent, our funders have made themselves available in their own country of origin, in Austria, before the government of Nigeria in that country.
So what you're saying, in essence, is that if government reaches out to you at this moment, the problem of ASU will be solved
instantly.
All right, so we'll leave that.
Again, we need to sit down with ASU and put the issue straight, and we run from there.
You know why I'm asking this? Because we also saw that solidarity march, which I had talked about earlier, between NLC and ASU, and up until now, the problem still persists. So some people are asking whether the labor union actually does have what it takes really to get government to action like you used to have before.
Yes. Well, basically, for some of us, we look at these issues from different perspectives. I've just put on the table a different perspective, probably that not be on the table as a labor man, to say let's go beyond just the strike actions, just the demonstrations, to practical approach of dealing with problems, investing in these sectors. And in the last 12 years, we secured what I have just said, to deal with the issues of the university, to deal with the issues of the research, to ingest money into the national economy, agriculture, solid mineral mining, job creation, healthcare. These are investment funds to be recouped over the next 20-25 years at very little marginal interest rate to rejig. Why is Ajakuta still lying idle? Alscon, the rolling mills, just mention them. So we took all of this into consideration in the last 12 years to make all of these projections that were approved. And the first set of funding came in. Sir, we do, as a people, we do not have any basis for further cries other than what to sit down and begin the implementation. All
right, let's leave education now quickly, just as we begin to round off and see how your party intends to address the problem of unemployment, the economy, and of course how to tackle the long-term issues in the petroleum downstream sector. Government has been subsidizing petrol for a long time now, and revelations by the Minister of Finance yesterday indicates that government currently subsidizes petrol at 18.39 billion naira monthly, which amounts to about 6.1 trillion naira annually. How is Labour going to tackle this problem? Quickly, before we round off.
Thank you. See, basically, it's an aberration for a country like Nigeria that is endowed with crude oil to engage or embark in subsidy in a way we have seen it. Now, what do I mean? How is it that Nigeria refineries have not functioned afterwards to date. How is it that we are importing a fraction of crude? There are close to 1,000 or more fractions from fractional distillation of the crude oil. The PMS is just one over so many other fractions. And the scam that's taking place in Nigeria is a situation where people in government have helped themselves with the commonwealth of the people by way of what is subsidy. Now let us put in place our own refineries internally, refine our crude oil and do local. There is no reason why a liter of fuel should serve, even with the state of the economy, for more than 20 naira in Nigeria. There is no reason. So what we need to do is what we have said here. We have secured all the funding needed for investment in this nation to rejig this economy.
All right, the national youth leader of the Labour Party, ERAGBE ANSLEM, who is also the party's senatorial candidate in Edo North ahead of the 2023 National Assembly elections. We appreciate your time on the program this morning.
All right, do have a great